These women's lives were taken over 150 years apart in eerily similar circumstances. Hello there, stranger. Today I'm going to be telling you about the Erdington murders. Viewer discretion, as always, is advised. The 26th of May 1817 was Whit Monday, and 20-year-old Mary Ashford had work that day and the Whitsun dance to attend that evening. That Monday morning, Mary walked from her home in Langley Heath to her friend Hannah's home in Erdington, Birmingham, to drop off a parcel of clothes to change into later that day to get ready for the dance. Although Mary was looking forward to the dance, she had had a sense of dread in the days prior, saying that she had bad feelings about the week to come. She had an uneventful day at work and then returned back to Hannah's house at around 6 p.m. that evening to prepare for the dance, which was to be held at Tyburn House. The two young ladies enjoyed the dance, and then the twosome turned into a foursome when they joined the company of two local lads, Benjamin Carter and Abraham Thornton. The four made their way from the dance around midnight, heading back to Hannah's house, with Hannah staying home, Benjamin heading back to the dance, and Mary and Abraham heading off together. Mary would return back to Hannah's home around 4 a.m, where the two girls would gossip about Mary's exploits with Abraham. Mary changed back into her work clothes and again headed out. Side note, but I was happily surprised to find that even back in 1817, 20-year-olds were going straight to work from the party. Good for Mary, or at least it would have been if it wasn't for what follows. Shortly after 4 a.m, witnesses said they saw Mary walking down the street on her own. Just under 2.5 hours later, a local man by the name of George Jackson came across a pile of clothes, a hat, and some shoes near a flooded sand pit. Mary's lifeless body was found in the water, essayed and drowned. The location was what is now known as Pipe Hayes Park in Erdington. Abraham Thornton was arrested shortly after, with the evidence at trial being that his boot seemed to match an impression left in the mud. He had a nail in his boot that left a distinct mark. He was taken to trial in August of that year, but was found not guilty. Mary's brother refused to accept the verdict. He refused to accept that Thornton was innocent and demanded a retrial. He was successful and Thornton was retried, but again he was acquitted. Public opinion was that Thornton was the perpetrator of this horrific crime, and that did not change. He ended up leaving England and settling in New York. Mary Ashford's case was never solved, and her killer was never caught or never brought to justice if it was Thornton. Mary's tombstone is a real sign of the times, reading, quote, "As a warning to female virtue and a humble monument to female chastity, this stone marks the grave of Mary Ashford, who on the 20th year of her age, having incautiously repaired to a scene of amusement without proper protection, was brutally murdered on the 27th of May, 1817. Mary is buried in Sutton Coldfield Churchyard. And this is just my opinion on the matter, but no matter what time she lived in and what decisions she made, Mary had a right to her freedoms, and that tombstone is despicable. Now we fast forward the clock to take us to the next case, which happens 157 years later. Barbara Forrest was 20 years old in 1974 and worked as a nurse in a local children's home and also worked for her local church. Barbara went out for the Whitsun bank holiday weekend, specifically Whit Monday, with her boyfriend. Although seemingly in high spirits, Barbara had had a funny feeling in the build-up to the day, telling a work colleague, quote, "This is going to be my unlucky month. I just know it. Don't ask me why." So on the Whit Monday, Barbara goes out with her boyfriend, pub hopping and dancing. When their evening came to an end, Barbara's boyfriend walked her to her bus stop before catching a bus back to his own area. He would be the last person to see Barbara alive other than her killer. Her body was found a few days later in Pipe Hayes Park, Erdington. She had been essayed before her life was taken. Before long, a suspect was identified, a work colleague of Barbara's by the name of Michael Thornton. The evidence was blood spots on his trousers and the fact that his mother had lied to police for him by providing a false alibi. He was acquitted just a week into the trial when the judge deemed the evidence to be circumstantial. Barbara's sister refused to accept this verdict and campaigned in 2012 for the case to be reopened and DNA evidence analysed. Unfortunately, nothing came of it, and Barbara's murder, as Mary's, remains unsolved to this day. These crimes happened 157 years apart, but the similarities are quite striking. Mary and Barbara had their lives stolen on the same day, the 27th of May, albeit 157 years apart. They were both in the same area. They were both 20 years of age. Their bodies were both found in Pipe Hayes Park. Both of the suspects were named Thornton and both were acquitted due to lack of evidence. Both Mary and Barbara had made comments about having a sense of dread in the build-up to their murders. Both of their siblings campaigned for retrials also. It's like the two cases run parallel to each other, but nearly 160 years apart. It's the strangest thing. Of course, rest in peace to the victims of this case, Mary Ashford and Barbara Forrest. I'm so sorry to these girls that they didn't get the justice that they deserved and that both of the perpetrators got away with it. I am so curious to see what you guys think of this one, strangers, because I'm not going to lie, this one tripped me out a bit. It's obviously not the same guy, but what are the chances of it being a copycat when it was so many years apart? Is it really just a coincidence? Please let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, if you've stayed with me up until now, then thank you for listening and I will see you for the next one.